When you started planning last year for your big spring race, the last thing you would have expected is for it to be cancelled. We know that there are a lot of runners right now who are in that situation where their race has been cancelled or postponed. I'm Anna, and today on the Running Channel, along with Andy, we're going to be looking at some practical tips and advice for what to do to make the most of your training that you've already put in if your race happens to be cancelled or postponed.
First up, if you're new around here, please hit the subscribe button, tap the bell icon so you'll be notified when we upload new videos all about running, which we do every week.
We know that the uncertainty can be disappointing, frustrating, and actually for some people quite stressful as well, especially those runners who feel like they've perhaps put their life on hold to train for the event of a lifetime. But what we would say is try not to worry too much about the things that are out of your control. If the decision has already been made for you, then it's completely out of your hands. And so instead, focus on the positives that you can take from the situation.
And if you are still waiting to find out whether or not your race has been cancelled, we would strongly advise that you keep training as if it's still on. That does mean it's still sensible to have a plan B or even a plan C. We've got a few ideas of what those possible plans could be, but the most important thing is that you be ready to make a decision, move on, and then work towards the personal goals that you might set for yourself.
Find a smaller race of the same distance. If there's still time and space for you to sign up, then smaller races are more likely to be going ahead at this point. And we've linked in the description to some race finding websites to help you with that.
Yeah, but do bear in mind that if it is a smaller event, then that big crowd that you're expecting on race day, that might have been the one thing that you were thinking was going to get you through, that's probably not going to be there. It'll be a very different atmosphere, so perhaps take that into account. Also bear in mind there's going to be uncertainty at all sizes of races because they may also fall prey to postponement or cancellation.
If you do end up choosing another race, then there are certain precautions that you can take as a participant of a race where there are going to be thousands of other people there.
You're likely to notice that there will be more hand sanitising stations around the start area, aid stations and finish area. Use them and make sure you stay up to date with government and health professional advice. And please don't show up to these events if you're feeling unwell.
Volunteers are being briefed to hand out cups at the base rather than at the rim as well, which is the traditional method of being able to pass them over. And there's less likely to be sweets handed out, I'm afraid. So no sweets at cheer stations and aid stations, that kind of thing. So really, you need to make sure that you are thinking about how to be more self-sufficient if you are going to be racing during these times where races are trying to minimise the hand-to-mouth contact.
Map a route and run the full distance anyway. You've done all of the hard work in the training, so why not find out whether or not you can actually hit those goals that you set yourself. Treat it like a true race day. Get up at the time that you would have got up, eat what you would have been planning to eat anyway, and set yourself a proper firm start time. Even think about enlisting your friends and family to help you out on the day, either out on the bike or perhaps dotted along the course to cheer you on. This might be the only race that you win anyway. Ultimately as well, think about recording it so that you have something to remember all of your hard work by. Use Strava or Garmin Connect, and then maybe even have the chance to sign up for a virtual medal after the fact.
Just be careful with this option though, because it does mean that you're not going to have the facilities available to you along the route that you would if you were doing a proper race. So you're not going to have aid stations, you won't have first aiders, and there won't be portaloos. But you've managed without all of these things already in your long run, so there's no reason why you can't manage them that little bit further on race day. Also, you could look to stash your gels or an energy drink or some water somewhere along the route before you go, or grab those friends and family that you've enlisted to be your own personal aid station.
Look at targeting a race anyway, but of a shorter distance. You'll probably find that there are loads of half marathons, 10Ks and 5Ks in the coming weeks and months, and by now you'll probably have at least 8 weeks of decent marathon training under your belt. So you probably surprise yourself when it comes to tackling the shortened distances at just how fit you are because you've been working on your aerobic fitness.
Yeah, my 5K and half marathon personal best times to date still stand from my very first marathon training block because of the fitness that I picked up training at paces either side of marathon pace. So be flexible and you might just surprise yourself with your level of fitness.
You'll also reap the benefits from upping the pace now when you come back to training for that marathon, whether it's a new goal that you've set yourself or it's the postponed race that you're waiting for.
We know that a lot of races are being postponed till the autumn, and so you've actually got time to put in a good 8 to 12 week block to train for a half marathon or a 10K. So have a look at our videos on the running channel for more tips on how to get a 10K or a half marathon PB if that is your goal. But make the decision now to get rid of that feeling of limbo, of not knowing what to do to maintain your fitness over the spring and summer, for then being able to target your race date, which is then later to come in the autumn.
If you do think about setting a new shorter distance goal along with a new training block to try and achieve it, then bear in mind that you're going to be adding in a heap of new training, potentially with a new training stimulus, on top of all of the hard work that you've already done, potentially with no recovery period. So think really carefully about how you are going to adapt the training that you're doing.
So regardless of whether you race or not, you are going to need to have a little bit of a rest in order to fully recover from this hard block of training you've already put in. You're not going to be able to maintain doing 20-mile long runs every single week right through until the autumn, for example. So take a couple of down weeks where you can knock down the mileage and the intensity and get that rest and recovery ready to adapt and hit your new target come the autumn. So unless your new race that you've planned in is going to be between 1 to 3 weeks away from the date of your original race, then focus on resting, ready to come back to hit the training.
Because your rest period wasn't 2 weeks completely away from running, you'll be able to come back into training at a similar level of fitness but feeling fully rested, allowing you to put in another 8 or 12 weeks of hard training and experience the benefits that will bring.
Runners can feel a slump in motivation when the end goal is suddenly taken away from them without warning. We get that, but don't lose sight of what you've already learned through your weeks of training already. So you'll have been working to a structured week where you've got certain types of run happening on certain types of days. Now we know that being a consistent runner makes you a better runner in the long run, no pun intended. So try and maintain that consistency if you can by keeping to the structure that you've already built. Those good habits that you've already formed can keep right through this maintenance phase before then hitting hard training again.
Perhaps you're okay with not racing at all and you're more than happy to wait until the postponed date of your big target race. But you might have found that whilst you've been training for this spring marathon, you've noticed some various niggles and aches and pains. So now could be the perfect time for you to look at addressing them, finding out what's causing them, and perhaps investing some time in correcting them. So think about things like cross-training and strength and conditioning.
Runners often tend to sweep little niggles or maybe even minor injuries under the rug, grit their teeth and get on with it when they've got an A-goal race in mind. But now that you've maybe bought yourself a little bit of extra time, it's really worth looking at where these niggles are coming from. So perhaps go see someone like a physio who can help you work on the areas that you need to strengthen in order to come back stronger for your postponed date. You can also spend this time really drilling down and focusing on your running form and efficiency. So have a go at throwing in lots of running drills to your routine to help with that one. And for an idea of where to start, check out our video on the running channel. In the grand scheme of things, it's really important to not lose sight of the real reason behind why these races are being cancelled and postponed. Ultimately, it's for your own protection and for the protection of other people around you. And you will move on from this and you'll realise that this isn't wasted training on the race day that never happens. In fact, there are plenty of strengths that you can take from the training that you've already done. And even being able to adapt your training and reset ready for the next time that you are able to race, well, these are strengths that shouldn't be dismissed either.
And we know it can be hard to take because you've put so much time, effort, mileage and ultimately probably money into what is your big race attempt of the year, but we just don't know what's around the corner and running at the moment. So please be flexible, be aware that there's fairly likely to be more cancellations in the coming weeks and months, and we would challenge you to stay positive and not fall into the trap of negativity, which ultimately will ruin your enjoyment of running.
Hopefully we've been able to give you some ideas of what to do if you've fallen victim to a race cancellation or postponement. Let us know in the comments below what your plan B or plan C is, and if you've been affected by race cancellations or postponements, and we will see you next time on the running channel.